Hey, everybody, good morning. I just so happen to be kind of scrolling through social media this morning, and I have to tell you, Marvin Sapp really gets on my nerves. I made some videos about the close the doors situation, but this interview that I was able to see today solidifies with me the fact that he's eliciting sympathy from the public and he's always playing the victim. Now, for those of you that are calling his church or threatening him, threatening his children, or anything like that, I do not condone that kind of behavior. But what I want to clearly tell you is, Marvin Sapp, you need to stop being such a whiny pot and just face reality. Here's the latest interview that he's done. Ridiculous.
Fort Worth Church of Gospel is adding more security because of death threats towards its bishop. It's on the heels of this viral video about an offering during a church service in another state from last year. It is a case that also has lessons about social media responsibility. Our Marvin Hurst sitting down with the bishop to talk about the controversy and shares his plans to close the door.
Bishop Marvin Sapp and his chosen vessel church in Fort Worth have become targets.
The attacks that I've received on social media, the phone calls that we received in our church, I mean, literally, profane, cussing me out, death threats.
I reiterate, I do not condone death threats to Marvin. The cussing out, he probably deserved that. I'm quite sure he does deserve to be cussed out a few times. But I don't condone the death threats and all that other stuff. It's kind of crazy.
All kind of crazy stuff, and all of this, I was like, man, this all happened over me asking, people to give a nominal fee of $20.
The gospel star.
This isn't about $20. And see, this is how they change the narrative, and it really irritates my soul. It's more or less about how the money was asked for and the initiation of closing the doors. Now, I find in this interview, he also makes another excuse for why he said close the doors. The narrative keeps changing. Every interview he sits down, it becomes a different story.
Gave us copies of the voicemails. After listening to them, we decided they were too vile to give voice to. In the meantime, Sapp says they did not report the matter to police. Instead, they have hired off-duty officers to increase security at the church.
Well, that's normally who is security at the church, is off-duty officers. You have to understand church, and you got to know church people, and you got to understand how church people play games and play with the lingo. And I don't like the way these people are always trying to change the narrative. Now Marvin is the victim.
Oh God, my Father.
So this threat stems from the recent release of a video clip. It is from the Pentecostals of the World Conference in Baltimore last July. He presided over the evening services and challenged the audience to sow $20 for an offering, which would have raised $40,000 for the conference.
But also note, Marvin was 2 years behind in his own dues, and he had to pay over $2,000 to the organization because he was behind. The organization probably wouldn't have needed the $40,000 as the people that are a part of the ministerial teams and staff would pay their dues on time and pay their responsibilities, because these preachers have to pay dues. It's a whole lot more to it. I explained it in another video that I made where I broke all of this down. I told you how everybody was paid. I told you all of that kind of stuff because been there, done that. And I just broke it all down for you. But you can go back and watch that video. But this particular video, I had to kind of talk about this because this is crazy.
There's 1,000 of you. I said, close them doors. Ushers, close the doors. Close the doors. Close the doors. We all gonna leave together. Right outside the doors were vendors.
Then he comes on and says outside the doors there were vendors. He didn't say that in his right then. He said, oh, well, we all gonna leave together. You ain't got nowhere to go but to go get something to eat anyway. And they kind of chuckle.
So it was like loud when the doors were opened. And of course, people can't hear that, so they assumed that, when I said close the doors, not lock the doors, but close the doors, that, I was trying to keep people inside for the premise and purpose of them giving.
You were trying to keep the people inside for the premise and purpose of giving. That is exactly what you were doing. And it is the play on words, it is the play on people's intelligence that really irritates my soul. This is just another interview. I just saw this, and I just want to simply say this. Just because Jesus saved us does not mean we have to throw out our brains with our sin. Jesus washed away my sin, not my brain. I can use my brain. I can uh, listen at what you said. I can surmise from basically what you're saying that you elicit sympathy from us. And I just don't buy it. Marvin, I think you need to go somewhere and close your mouth just like you wanted them to close them doors. And I definitely think Leandria Johnson was right. Now, at the end of the day, we're going to have to come to a place in our lives in the institutional church where we understand we're in a different place and space, Marvin, and that you preachers are going to have to learn how to respect the people that you pastor, love on the people that you pastor, and stop treating people like they're your children.